A pattern has emerged of the Trump administration. When a self-created crisis or a scandal emerges, change the subject, even if the new headline is less than flattering.
Donald didn't change the party. He revealed something about it that for various reasons, it was expeditious to keep under wraps, I suppose. And he also gave people permission, those who wanted it and were willing to take advantage of it, to be their worst selves, which is why so many people got pushed out of the party. Right. And so many other people, like the new leaders of the party, decided that it was their time. And they weren't wrong about this. So just as with Donald, there is history here. And I think this might sound reductive, but I think it's absolutely true that the problems that have led us to this existential crisis we're facing is that America has never faced its deepest, darkest issues.
Yes. Now we're talking, sister. Now we're talking.
Right. And it's, white people don't want to hear this, and even allies don't like facing this stuff. And I get it, but it's time to own up to the fact that we are here because not only have we never atoned for our original sins, we've never properly acknowledged them. And now Republicans want to erase them entirely. And part of that, it's not just the original sins of enslaving an entire race of people and destroying an entire other race of people, but it's not owning what white people in America have gained from the advantage of white supremacy and white privilege.
A little part of your soul must die every day when you watch this White House press corps with, first of all, these MAGA people asking, not even, they're just North Korea suck-up questions. They're not even questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, so, the other day when Mary Bruce at ABC asked about Jamal Khashoggi, I thought, okay, that's what I'm talking about right there. But when Trump starts going after her and says, you're a terrible person, you're fake news and all that sort of thing, another reporter should chime in and say, but Mr. President, what about her question? What about what she was asking you? Can you give us an answer? When he says, things happen about a Washington Post journalist being, bone sawed to death. I mean, that is pretty vile. I mean, I thought that was a pretty vile moment, even for him. And, some of this involves, individual reporters stepping up, but it also takes collective action. I mean, the Associated Press is in court today trying to get Trump to back off of this thing where they've blocked the AP, the Associated Press, from going into the White House Oval Office and to certain, availabilities that he has and so on, because they won't call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. It's insane. It's dystopian. It's 1984 that they have to even go to court over this.
And Jim, we've said the same thing every day you just said, is where the other reporters need to, in the moment, not later, stand up for their colleagues or ask the question that they asked that he won't answer. I mean, when you're standing there and someone says "quiet piggy" to a female reporter, we've just normalized this to such a degree. In the moment, you need to go, that's not okay, right?
No, I know. And had I been on Air Force One when he said that, maybe they would have opened up the door and said, here's your parachute, good luck. But I would have said, that is not appropriate. You should not refer to my colleague as piggy. Yeah. Like somebody in that room or in that cabin, whatever, needs to say, Mr. President, that's just, you can't do that. Like, that's wrong. And part of the problem is we've allowed this situation to emerge. And some of this goes back to corporate ownership of media companies and so on, where he has leverage over news organizations. And that is not a democracy. That is not freedom of the press. If he can, torpedo a merger and acquisition deal with such and such company, if their White House correspondent is being a pain in the then that's not, what are we doing here, folks? Yeah. And so I think that's part of the reason why folks are gravitating towards independent media. They're saying these guys are somewhat compromised. The individual reporters I have a lot of respect for, but the executives and the companies who run these news organizations need to look in the mirror and ask, is this how I want to be remembered?
Yeah.
Is this how I want to go down? As sucking up to this guy. Come on.
Bending the knee and settling these ridiculous lawsuits that are would be so easily won. I got to talk about this other story. Thank God I go to social media and to you and Joy Reid and all my other friends to, but Jeff said between the bot farms and the White House, the U.S. is pretty much a Russian puppet state. Where's the mainstream media on this? Renee says X turned on the account location feature. Suddenly, half the loud MAGA accounts are showing up as based in Nigeria and in Russia. No, it wasn't Patriot Mike from Kentucky screaming in your mention. It was a whole operation overseas. And then one last one. The entire MAGA movement was a ploy by Russia and other foreign actors to bring down the United States. I lay a lot of the blame for where we are, Jim, at the feet of mainstream media in terms of how they have covered all of these campaigns and Donald Trump.
Well, and there's a difference between, I think, the way we covered him in Trump 1.0 versus Trump 2.0. And the people at home can figure this stuff out. They're smart enough to figure it out. They're like, wait a minute, you guys seem muzzled. You guys seem to be holding back. You watch the nightly news, and it just seems sort of sugar-coated and watered down in terms of the criticism and so on. And it's just not meeting the moment. And, when, for example, just in the last, 24, 48 hours, you have this report emerging that the so-called Trump peace plan for Ukraine is apparently right out of the Kremlin. I'm sorry.
This is what I was just about to ask you about. After talking to Secretary Rubio, Senator Rounds, Republican, Jim, announces the 28-point plan was a Russian document, not a U.S. document. Someone just said, besides being evil, this is the dumbest, most incompetent group of clowns ever. I mean, epic grifters. It just... Every story that comes out of here, these are Republican senators confirming what Rubio said.
No, exactly. And I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure this stuff out, right? I mean, if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. If you give land for peace to Russia, first of all, they're not going to abide by the for peace part. They're going to say, oh, thanks for that little chunk of Ukraine. Well, in about 5 years, we're going to want another chunk, or even sooner than that. And so unless, you have real security guarantees, I guess backed by the United States and other European countries. And, to me, this notion of trading territory for some sort of agreement, it just sends the wrong message, I think, to Vladimir Putin. And so how is it that, why is Donald Trump doing this? Because, my God, haven't we been paying attention for the last 8 or 9 years? I talk about this all the time on my show. At every turn, and I'm talking every turn, he sides with Vladimir Putin. If somebody can find me a situation where he's really gone against Vladimir Putin, I'll hand you, I'll be happy to write you a check. But I just haven't seen it, and so you have to wonder what in the heck is going on. I've called it a Scooby-Doo mystery. Maybe at the end of this, it'll be Old Man Withers at the haunted amusement park. But why is it that Donald Trump always sides with Vladimir Putin? And so you have to be suspicious of this. And I feel terrible for the Ukrainians who have been so brave, so courageous, and yet they're stuck with Donald Trump and this administration.